The Carolina Panthers may be in the worst situation in the NFL. Yes, we all understand at this point right now, Bryce Young does look like a bust, but not only does Bryce Young not look good, the defense may be even worse. And this was not the case last season. Now, I will say this. Yes, they ranked top 5 in terms of being in total defense. Their pass defense was better. But this coach right here and Coach EJ has become a huge problem for the Carolina Panthers. And I want to start it off right here with the departures. Because if you're in the camp of saying, hey, we let a lot of defensive stars go. We no longer have Frankie Louvu. We no longer have Brian Burns. We no longer have some of those players that we had from last season, including Dante Jackson. You may be in the conversation of saying, hey, they let those guys go. They try to help out Bryce Young, and Bryce Young is the reason why we're in this situation. I wouldn't say that's true, and it's really not 100% true. What is true is the fact that this defense gives up a lot of opening drives in terms of touchdowns on the opening drives. That's what they do. This defense is not good for a plethora of reasons. Number 1, play calling. Number 2, injuries. Number 3, lack of talent. Everything can be true. When I look at this defense and I go back to that Chicago Bears game, it was too many times that you let DJ Moore go out there and single-handedly kill you over the top. You have Michael Jackson on him in one-on-one coverage. Why not put J.C. Horn on him? And that's on Coach EJ, the defensive coordinator. I also blame him for this. Jeremy Chinn is a very good safety in the NFL, and I will stand on it. Jeremy Chinn is a special type of football player at the safety position. His rookie and sophomore season, he was very good. They could not find a spot for him on the field when Coach EJ became the defensive coordinator. And now Jeremy Chinn is with the Washington Commanders. Frankie Louvu, they wanted him to stay. They offered him a deal. He said, I'm getting the hell out of here. He packed his bags. He went to the Washington Commanders. He was gone. They tried to work out a deal with Burns, but he wanted more money. They could not come down to agreement. That man wanted all his money. The New York Giants say, hey, we'll trade your 2nd round pick and a 5th round pick. We'll take him off your hands and we'll pay him. The Panthers went ahead and they made that move. Now, this is a different general manager. I'm not going to say that Dan Morgan is the reason why they missed out on those 2 first-round picks when the Los Angeles Rams offered that deal to get him a couple of years ago. That was on Scott Fitterer. He wanted to keep him with the team. Different general manager. But at the end of the day, David Tepper could have overruled that. He didn't. So you move on from Burns for a 2nd and a 5th round pick. You got little to no value for him. Let's just be real here. And yes, he was their top pass rusher last season. But at the same time, the Carolina Panthers were dead last season in 2023 in terms of total pressures on a quarterback and sacks as a whole. The reason why their defense looked that good, they weren't giving up those many points last season. As they're giving up right now, they were healthier. And also, it was a better system at that time. And those players, they really saved Coach EJ and his flaws because the passing defense was better. But at the same time, the rushing defense was terrible. They ranked 26 in terms of rushing defense. And I do understand it from this standpoint. The regular viewer will say, hey, Bryce Young's throwing interceptions. They're going 3 and out. The defense is on the field more. That is the case. But when you look at it from this standpoint, when you're giving up touchdown drives right after halftime, when you're giving up touchdown drives in the first quarter, and it's the first drive of the game, that's not on Bryce Young. That's not on the offense. That's just the defense not being good enough and not making adjustments. And so far, they're not making adjustments right now. And I will say this, they run a lot of zone. Part of that is because they're decimated. Shaq Thompson is out for the rest of the season. Shaq Thompson tore his Achilles. And he got hurt last season, and it was not his fault. His teammate slammed a Saints player on his leg, breaks his leg. His days as the Carolina Panther, unfortunately, in my opinion, they're numbered. When I look at the secondary, Michael Jackson is not a terrible cornerback. He's solid. Up to this point, he's been solid. Yes, he gave up a lot of big plays to DJ Moore. He shouldn't have been in that situation to begin with. And the fact that the Bears used DJ Moore to beat the Carolina Panthers over the head with is even more embarrassing, considering the trade, which I will talk more about in the next couple of minutes. J.C. Horn, I can't say enough good things about him. I like Xavier Woods at the free safety position. Jadeveon Clowney, I said this over the free agency period. When they brought in Jadeveon Clowney, solid story. from the Carolina area, understand that. It's not a good pass rusher. He is what he is. He had 9.5 sacks last season because he played on a loaded defense with the Baltimore Ravens. Geno Stone had 7 interceptions last season with the Ravens. He has 0 with the Cincinnati Bengals right now. Jadeveon Clowney got to play alongside J.J. Watt, and he still struggled to get double-digit sacks on the season. This is a player that struggles to stay healthy, and he's just not a very good pass rusher. And the numbers show that. Yes, you got 9.5 sacks last season. You played with so many superstars on that defense. He's not a true consistent pass rusher in terms of being a number 1 on the team. He's not, especially at this stage of his career. You're also missing DJ Wonnum as well. DJ hasn't played a single snap this season. He had 8 sacks last season. But this is a guy you're depending on to come in to be a huge game time playmaker. He hasn't been that because he hasn't been able to touch the field. Hopefully he can be that. And I do look at their secondary. It should get better. You have a guy in Jordan Fuller who you hope that can come in the next couple of weeks and take away those snaps from Nick Scott. Nick Scott is terrible. Nick Scott is not a good safety. Nick Scott has never been a good safety in my opinion. And they tried to sell Carolina Panther fans on this. They have 3 starting good safeties. No, they don't. You have Xavier Woods and Jordan Fuller. Unfortunately, Jordan Fuller right now is on IR. As soon as they get Nick Scott out of their secondary, the better. No offense, just not a good football player. And I look at the rest of the defense. Ashawn Robinson, he's trying his best. He's trying his hardest. That man motor is always up in his high. He's trying the most that he can, but he's just not a good pass rusher. He is known to be an elite run stopper. He's trying to run through double teams. It's just not working. He can't do it on his own. And with them missing Derek Brown, who is out for the rest of the season dealing with a torn meniscus, this defense is only going to look worse. They were 26 in terms of stopping the run last season. And that was with Burns. That's with Frankie Louvu. That's with Derek Brown. What do you think their rushing defense is going to be this season? It's the same defensive system. And they're running the same plays that they were running last season as well. Now, I do believe this. Coach EJ is not this terrible defensive coach. And I could easily see him going to a team like the Jacksonville Jaguars and finding major success. It seems like a lot of people leave the Carolina Panthers and they find success. From Baker Mayfield, from Sam Darnold, Hassan Reddick, Stephon Gilmore. They've had all those guys come through the door over the last couple of years. The organization just isn't good right now. And I can name more names. You got guys like DJ Moore that you traded, Christian McCaffrey you traded, which still makes me scratch my head. Why the hell did they trade Christian McCaffrey in the first place? And that's an honest question. I understand that they were in a mode to where they felt like they're not winning a lot of football games right now, but they wanted to retain DJ Moore. They did not want to trade him to the Chicago Bears, but they had to go out there and to get the first overall pick to get Bryce Young. But what was the point of trading Christian McCaffrey? This man was a very good running back. I understand that he dealt with injuries with the Carolina Panthers. Over 1,000 receiving yards, over 1,000 rushing yards in that one season. Phenomenal. And I want you guys to let me know in the comment section below. Why did they do that? Because look back on it, it made 0 sense to trade him to the 49ers. It just seemed like they were giving up. And at the time, they didn't want to move on from DJ Moore. And they did not want to move on from Burns. They wanted to keep those guys. And I understand that Christian McCaffrey, you may just say, hey, he's a running back. He's a wide receiver too. He's both. Then you also look at it from this standpoint. The Bryce Young hate is warranted because he hasn't played good on the field. But you do have a lot of people that basically say, hey, we gutted this defense to help out this quarterback. And I hate Bryce Young. He's the reason why we're in this situation. That's not true. Even though Bryce Young is a bust right now. That's not the truth. That's not 100% true. And that's not 100% fair to Bryce Young. I do feel like this. They made that trade and they moved on from DJ Moore, first round pick, second round pick, and the Bears got Caleb Williams. They got all that good in return. And all the Panthers really got was Bryce Young, an undersized quarterback that seems like he can't make it in the NFL. I will want you guys to be cautious with this. We've seen this song and dance before. Baker Mayfield went elsewhere. Found major success with the Buccaneers in this division. Sam Darnold went elsewhere. He's finding major success right now with the Minnesota Vikings as I record this video. Yes, they went to better teams and better situations, but the Panthers are stuck under this new leadership with David Tepper. He doesn't know how to run a football team. That's number one. because there's no way in hell that you have all of that talent, walk in the door and walk out. And you also look at it from this standpoint. This is why I'm cautious of firing this defensive coordinator. They fired Joe Brady. He was a former offensive play caller. He came from LSU. And you could say, hey, he's aged like fine wine in the NFL. He is now the offensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills. He may be a head coach in the NFL one day. They fired that man. He went to the Buffalo Bills, became a quarterback coach. Josh Allen, straight out the gate, said he loves the man as a coach. Immediately, as the interim offensive coordinator, he helped the Buffalo Bills make the NFL playoffs and win a playoff game over the Steelers. You had him on this coaching staff. Matt Rule was not ready to be an NFL head coach. He may never be an NFL head coach ever again. Matt Rule was a terrible head coach. He goes back to Nebraska. He's finding success right now. This says a lot about the Panthers organization than it says about those individuals. David Tepper doesn't know what the hell is going on. And I know a lot of Panther fans don't want to go back and look at that trade, but we have to. When you make a move like that, you have to make sure that the quarterback is put into the right situation. Two things are true. Bryce Young is a bad quarterback right now, but that rookie season was so bad. Second most sacked quarterback in the NFL. You also look at him, second most in pressures. He stood no chance. He shouldn't have played his rookie season. They should have put a veteran out there. They should put Andy Dalton out there from day one. That should have been the game plan. My fear is that the Carolina Panthers are going to end up with a top 3 pick. They're not going to pick a defensive end with that pick. They're not going to pick a linebacker. They're not going to pick a cornerback with that pick. They're not going to trade down from having the first overall pick. David Tepper is a very impatient man, like how most billionaires are. David Tepper is going to select a quarterback with the first overall pick. If they end up with the first overall pick, right now the Panthers are in the same situation with the Patriots and the Cleveland Browns. The Browns may be in the worst situation because they have Deshaun Watson in the books for the next 2 years. They're going to go with a quarterback like Cam Ward, Quinn Ewers, or Shedeur Sanders. They have to make sure that the next quarterback that they bring in, that you take care of that kid. You may not even start him straight out the gate. You may want to retain Andy Dalton for one more season. But whatever you do, this draft is important. And it's a shame that I'm talking about the NFL draft and we're 6 weeks into the brand new season. This is how depressing this team is right now. They cannot mess this up. They can't. I'm not saying go out there and fire Dan Morgan, fire this person. I don't want to see anyone get fired. Dave Canales, I think, is going to be a very good coach. Now, the quick game was working out against the Las Vegas Raiders. I don't understand why he didn't go with the quick game against the Chicago Bears, but he is a first-year head coach. The Panthers do have talent, but you have to make sure going forward that you let football people make football decisions. What do I mean by that? David Tepper still needs to be hands off with this team. He has to be. Because he's the reason why they're in this situation. I can blame Matt Rule. I can blame Joe Brady. I can blame Dave Canales. I can blame Frank Reich. At the end of the day, it comes down to the ownership. Because there is no way in hell that I look at all those names, those departures. Those guys are still in the NFL finding success. But when they were with the Carolina Panthers, they didn't have much of it, or they did not look as good. And I don't know how you do not retain guys like Stephon Gilmore, Hassan Reddick, all of those men, James Bradbury. Look at all those talented names. Gone. They have nothing to show for it. And I understand optics are different. Situations are different. I understand that. But at the end of the day, the Carolina Panthers have been one of the worst teams in the NFL since that man bought this team. And it always goes back to him. You can say you feel bad for Bryce Young. At the end of the day, bad quarterback. I'm not going to rehash that entire argument. I did that 2 to 3 weeks ago when the national media made it seem like David Tepper went out there and he blew up his house. He didn't. He just didn't play good. The Carolina Panthers now need defensive help and they need a quarterback as well. And to leave you guys off on a bright note, Jonathan Brooks, I think he's going to be a very good running back. But Chuba Hubbard has been the most consistent offensive player the last 2 seasons. Chuba Hubbard has been very good. And I think that you need to give him the football 20 times a game. He deserves it. Chuba Hubbard is a warrior. Deontay Johnson is a very good wide receiver. I believe that they won that trade with the Steelers. They traded Dante Jackson to bring him in. Very good wide receiver. You have Xavier Legette, who is showing promise that he could possibly one day be a true number one wide receiver. Because after this season, Adam Thielen may be gone. This is the last year of his deal. And Deontay Johnson, this is the last year of his deal as well. So you need to see a lot of promise out of Xavier Legette long term. You also have Jonathan Mingo as well. I've given up on Jonathan Mingo. The routes are not there. Jonathan Mingo, it is what it is. But at least now with Andy Dalton in, you're starting to see those players perform to their potential. And I still think that you can get a better quarterback than Andy Dalton long term. Matter of fact, I know that you can have a better quarterback than Andy Dalton long term. And I understand when Bryce Young came in, you have people saying, hey, he came in, he looked good. Let's push Bryce Young back out there. No. The reason why he looked good, the Chicago Bears are just playing off coverage. Nothing deep, nothing cheap. That's what they did. And for the ones that want to go out there and make these stupid comments to say, hey, it wasn't just a quarterback issue, huh? Yes, it still was. It was still a huge issue because if they end up with a top pick in the NFL draft, they're not going to draft a defensive player. They're going to still draft a quarterback. So if you're still on that Bryce Young mountain, go ahead and get down from it. Bryce Young is not going to work out with the Carolina Panthers. This quote-unquote reset is the same reset the Jets did with Zach Wilson. And look at where Zach Wilson is right now. He's with a different team. It's okay to admit that the quarterback you traded all the draft capital for and your star wide receiver for didn't work out. But I hate that notion. And I'm seeing a lot of people in the mainstream media, and I'm seeing a lot of other creators want to go with that narrative as well. It wasn't all on Bryce Young. No, it wasn't, but he wasn't helping matters. At least Andy Dalton is giving you a fighting chance. At least he's putting 20-plus points on the board. Bryce Young wasn't able to do that. It was still an issue. We can acknowledge the fact that the defense is bad, that the defense is out there giving up a lot of points and giving up a lot of yardage. They're last in points right now. They're letting opposing teams go out there and score over 30-plus points in every single game this season, except for when they went against the Los Angeles Chargers because they had 47 points put on their neck by the Saints. But at least now Andy Dalton can try to match the score. At least he can try to match the total. Bryce Young wasn't even able to go out there and lead a touchdown drive. He was able to go out there and get a rushing touchdown, but it wasn't on a consistent basis. That's what I'm trying to say. Maybe he goes off to a different team and he'll end up in a situation like Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield to where he looks like a star quarterback. The best fit for him is for him to go over there with the Miami Dolphins and sit behind Tua and let them work with him. That's the best situation. You're not going to get a first, second, third, fourth, or even a fifth round pick for Bryce Young at this point because things just don't look good. But let me know in the comment section below, how do you guys feel about the Carolina Panthers moving forward? And is this the worst situation in the NFL right now? If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for watching the video, guys. God bless.